Perfect. So welcome again. It's a pleasure to have you here. My name is Irene Kelly or Irene Kelly, and I am the Financial Education Manager and Community Engagement Manager here at Women's Economic Ventures. And I'm just very honored to be here and interviewing one of our great clients here at Weave. And before I jump into sharing more about her, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge some of our sponsors and thank them because of their generous contributions. We are here today. So without further ado, I want to get started with the session of the day. And with that said, I just want to share that I'm just so excited to interview Ashe. Ashe is a co-founder of Pura Luna Apothecary. She's also an entrepreneur. She has other businesses that she's going to share about today. And she's just passionate about self-care and about empowering other women and empowering entrepreneurs to pursue their dreams. So I'm excited to have her here with us. Ashe, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Grand Rising. Good morning to everybody. Thank you so much for spending part of your morning with me. And thank you, Irene, for inviting me to do this. I'm happy to be here.
My pleasure. And I'm so curious about your other entrepreneurial ventures. So today, how about we get started with the question, how and why did you start your business or your businesses?
Great question. So I have been a little mini entrepreneur pretty much my whole life. I have to pay homage and bring my wife into the conversation. We have been together for 20 years. So we met when we were 17 and 18. And I will never forget the first summer of our companionship. We started a little mini side business where we were doing makeup for weddings, and we were only like 17 and 18 years old. But this was just like we didn't have a business license. We made some cute little business cards, but we were booking, and we were doing this really cool thing and making some side money. Went to college, did all of these things, ended up pursuing a career in makeup artistry. My mom was a makeup artist when I was growing up, so it came really easy to me. Ended up working my way up through MAC Cosmetics and ended my career with them as one of their store managers, opened up the location that's no longer there anymore in Santa Barbara. And just at that point in our lives, I was 24, my wife was 25, and my wife was working a corporate job and was miserable. And I also was in corporate America with working at Nordstrom's. And this was right at the time of the recession, so 2008. So when 2008 hit, I had a team of 18 women that I was overseeing as manager and had to fire half of them. Really challenging time in my youth to be held with that responsibility of severing people that I had groomed and supported in their careers, and now had to let them go due to financial constraints. But one thing that was becoming very clear is just the need to be in my joy and in our happiness, and for my wife and I to be able to maintain that. So I remember one day I just looked at her, and the thing that was happening when I was working at the MAC counter is I was having brides come to the MAC counter and say, "Hey, are you available for my wedding?" Blah, blah, blah. So I was still booking weddings while also being a manager, because I was the person that was scheduling everybody. I would come in and open, leave for 4 hours, go work a wedding, and then come back and close. The thing that became very apparent is I would get my paycheck from Nordstrom's and I would get paid by this wedding. And I was making more in those 4 hours than I was making in a 40-hour work week managing all these. So became very clear, it's time to do something different. I looked at my wife one day, who, again, very unhappy in her position at that time. And I just said, "Babe, we're going to do this again. We're going to do what we did when we were in our teens, and we're going to have our own hair and makeup company, and we're going to be freaking amazing. And we're not going to work." Right. But what was really scary about that is like, okay, it's 2008, recession. Everybody we told about our idea was like, "You're crazy. You have benefits. Like you're going to basically rip the rug out and not have a consistent paycheck just to take a leap of faith." And we're like, "Yeah, we're going to do this." So my wife quit her job. She went and got the business license, started doing her research, fictitious business name, like all of these things. I gave myself 6 months to ease out of MAC and also acquire as much makeup for my new business as possible. And then, 2009, Luna Bella. And Irene, you have such a beautiful accent when you say these, say that I butcher it, so I just say it very American, and that is to not offend anybody, but I love Latin culture. I am like, yes. So all of my business have to do with the moon, and I'll get into that later when we get into the more self-care piece around it. But Luna Bella was our first business that we started in 2009, and we were a smashing success right out the gate, which was a real blessing. There was definitely a moment in time where I questioned if we made the right choice because the phone wasn't ringing. But we kept this affirmation. We're going to be amazing. We're going to be great. We're going to be booked every single weekend, and we're going to be highly successful. And we kept that mantra going, my wife and I, even when things weren't showing up right away. And then all of a sudden it was like, boom. And then we were booked every single weekend, working weddings every weekend, several weddings, to where we now needed to hire a team. So then that was a whole new thing of like, okay, independent contractors versus employees. And like, how do we navigate that? You know, we have grown and then we have downsized. And part of the downsizing was making sure that we are staying true to why we started our businesses, was to give ourselves flexibility, to allow ourselves to be in joy, to allow ourselves to have harmony in what we're doing, and to feel the flow of abundance without feeling the pressure of struggle, right? And having a team of 20 artists doing several weddings at the same time, we were now being stressed. Now we were micromanaging people. And so we ended up downsizing Luna Bella, just being us with our assistants. And that was the best choice we made. After 5 or 6 years of trying to do the most, we were okay with making less, but charging more and having more freedom and less having to micromanage a bunch of different people. So that was a big deal when we decided to do that. Pura Luna, our newest venture, and then we also have 3 other businesses. So there's Luna Bella Makeup and Hair, then there is Pura Luna Apothecary, then there's Pura Luna Botanicals, and then there's Full Spiral Salon. It's a lot. We have a lot going on. So yes, it has definitely grown. And I think because of what we experienced with our initial businesses and being 24 and 25 while doing it, was really, it was a moment in time of just like, we're going to learn by experience and we're going to make mistakes, and that's going to be okay. And the more experience and the more mistakes we made, the more we were able to show up for ourselves and make new choices. And then also realize that we can't do this alone and we need support, and to call in that support. So that's kind of why we initially became entrepreneurs. Pura Luna was birthed from me as a need to step into my purpose work. I'm an artist. But there is definitely something that left me feeling quite unfulfilled, and knowing that, yes, I can listen to this bride tell me what she wants, but she also is in my chair self-deprecating herself. She is not feeling beautiful. She wants me to, contour and do all of these things. But there was a definite emptiness in working with people who need their own healing that's outside of vanity. And part of my journey in what I've experienced in life is needing to seek out healing for myself and then wanting to share that with others. And once I realized that I could share my knowledge of herbalism and self-care practices and tools that I use, I can ultimately step into my purpose work, which is helping humans heal themselves and also helping to be a bigger change that we wish to see in this world. So that was really why I started Pura Luna, and also to create community. I've lived in Santa Barbara for 18 years. There's not a lot of people that look like my wife and I. There's not a huge queer community there, especially when we moved there. And one thing that was really challenging for us, because right at the same time that we started Pura Luna, we also became moms. So within a month of each other, we had a brand new business and a brand new baby with no community. So they always say, if you build it, they will come. Pura Luna was my ability to call in that village and create that community. And now I know that I'm one of those community members that people know that they can come into our shop or come to one of our events and feel seen, and also feel mirrored in what their experience is. So that was really a beautiful blessing. And then the Pura Luna Botanicals is basically our own product line. So we create a lot of our own tea blends, skin care, body care, affirmation mists, all sorts of different things. So that's that other business. And then Full Spiral Salon. My wife is a curly hair specialist. She's quite famous for it. She will tell you that when we started our business, so my wife is actually a Le Cordon Bleu chef. I told her, if you get into hair, babe, I promise, right? And so she got into hair just for weddings and then had to go to cosmetology school and wanted to specialize in naturally textured hair because that's not something that's taught in cosmetology. And again, my wife and I are all about really stepping into what our purpose here on this planet is about. Like, how can we be the change we wish to see? Having people embrace their natural curl and their natural texture is something that's not being embraced in schools, but now the movement is here. And so I'm so glad she took this leap of faith to like really want to focus on supporting curly haired people. 60% of the whole world is curly, yet the narrative was straight was better. And how can we get it more straight? And we're all about the curls. So Full Spiral was our pandemic pivot because we had Luna Bella and then we had the salon attached to Luna Bella, but they didn't really match because Luna Bella was more for weddings. And then we had this like salon that did curly hair, but it was also called Luna Bella. It didn't make sense. So then we repivoted and we created a completely separate salon that is dedicated to natural textures, natural styles, protective styles, all of that. But then we also pivoted and put those businesses together because Pura Luna used to be on Upper Chapala, Luna Bella on Mission, and then we pivoted during the pandemic and went all into one space. So now half of our space is a salon and the other half is our apothecary. And we'd like to say that we're supporting our, our customers from roots to crown, and so this is that's been kind of our new pivot and our new expansion in the world currently. So that's my little, like, in a nutshell of being an entrepreneur for the past 20 years.
Oh, what a wonderful journey. And I just want to invite everyone that hasn't been in their space. It's just such a great space, like a one-stop shop for radical beauty and self-care. Like you feel it when you come in, right? And I'm just so excited to hear how all these pieces came together. And I love that now you brought them all into one space. I think that's very special because it is like that one. I love how you put it, right? From roots to crown. You come out as a wonderful queen out of that great space. And I love also how you have helped us kind of depict this journey of challenges and achievements. And when you connect it to that purpose, those challenges become a little easier to overcome. But nevertheless, they are important challenges. So I would like to take a moment to just talk a little bit about some of the challenges that you have experienced. And could you share a little bit about how have you overcome them?
Yes, there's definitely been a lot of challenges. And I think my way of overcoming them is, okay. When you talk of challenges, I feel like as an entrepreneur, we honestly want to dive into the like challenges within the business, right? But I think we have to realize that when you take a leap of yourself and on your business and on your dream, you are stepping into a spiritual journey. This is no longer just about making money. You have to show up for yourself. You have to believe in yourself every single day. You have to put on that coat of, I can do this. I'm the person that I want to be. No matter what challenges come in my way, I'm going to persevere. You have to look in that mirror every day and make that choice to show up every day for the business and the choices that you made. So for me, looking at entrepreneurship as a spiritual journey has been probably the greatest challenge, because I know, especially when you are in a marriage that is so interwoven with your businesses, it's like, not only is it a personal journey, it's also a journey in our coupledom. It's also a journey in our family of balancing with our daughter. So it is a spiritual journey. It is a spiritual quest into self. So when those challenges come up, it's like, it's a constant reminder of how you show up for yourself. It's also a constant reminder of looking at these challenges as teachers, right? Instead of it being like, fuck, what am I going to do? This is so hard. It's like, okay, utilizing my higher wisdom and tools that I've acquired, and really being in my power to step into this next teachable moment. How am I going to rise above? How am I going to face this challenge? And how am I going to be able to navigate this, knowing that this is meant for me? That everything that is in front of me as a challenge is meant for my highest and best good, for me to learn, to grow, or make a new choice, or to pivot into something different. So that for me has been how I've internalized any challenge that I have faced as an entrepreneur, as this is a moment in time for me to step into what's best and next for me in my spiritual evolution and in my journey as a human, evolving and growing and expanding. So if you're asking me like, what are some of the challenges? I think one of the biggest challenges that I'm facing currently is finding the right support system to build the dream. I think a lot of entrepreneurs are experiencing this right now where, even pre-pandemic, finding great employees, people that can support you and hold the vision for you and want to do right by you because they believe in you and what you're providing, is really challenging because a lot of people just come in and want a paycheck. A lot of people just want to come in, clock out, clock in, clock out and go. But the businesses that I'm creating, you got to show up in your right frame of mind, leave your stuff at the door, clear your energy. You are here to hold space for this community. You got to show up outside of yourself and your personal things. Every time I'm in the shop, it's not about me. It's about literally showing up for everyone that's going to come in and being there and being present. So finding that right support system has been a challenge. One thing that in that challenge is I needed to get clear as to exactly who I was looking for and put that into existence. And when I say that, I'm a very big like manifester, vision boarding. I'm a very like, if I can see it and if I can hold the vision and if I'm very clear as to what I want, that person is going to show up. And I've been proven that several times, including my latest hire, which is my new shop manager and social media manager. I literally asked, and this is really something I'm really passionate about too, is offering opportunities to women of color, especially in Santa Barbara. It is very important for me as a woman of color to be able to hold space and be of change by creating spaces for other women of color to show up and find a position that is a hell yes for them. I put in a tall order last year. I said, I'm looking for a woman of color who's an herbalist, who has a great head on their shoulder, who has social media skills, who has management skills, HR skills, everything. And I was like, Spirit, I know I'm asking for a unicorn, but I believe it's possible. And then in walks Maya, checking all the boxes and then some. So it's about the mind frame and the mindset and the belief that anything is possible as long as you hold the vision of what you're asking for. And so that's been the greatest challenge, is also knowing what you want, knowing what you need, putting in that tall order, expecting that it's going to come, releasing the expectation that it's going to come, and then moving, setting your own standards and moving in that direction, right? That challenge of being unwavering in your vision for your business and for the people that support your business is probably the greatest challenge in entrepreneurship, is being unwavering. It's not allowing, well, I guess I'll just settle. Well, it's not showing up. So maybe my expectations are too high, or, I have this really beautiful goal of how I want to, I want to make 20 grand a month off in the shop. Is that possible? It's like the constant doubting. It's like, and settling for what is. It's like, no, keep holding the vision that this is what you want, right? So that would probably be one of the greater challenges, is being unwavering in what you need, what you desire, and again, setting your own standards and all of those things.
See, I told you it was going to be an amazing session with this awesome entrepreneur. And I'm hearing you, Ash, and I think that what you're saying reflects, like, it really connects with other things in our lives, right? Like, I'm thinking financial education, and I am a big believer on mindset, and I'm a big believer of sometimes we are our biggest obstacle, our heads, and what we say we can or we cannot do, that might be our biggest obstacle in the way. So I do love what you're saying. And I also want to just take a moment to honor the hell yes, right? Like, I just recently started practicing that of like, okay, if you're going to create something that is going to invite people to say, oh, hell yes, I want to be part of that, right? And that, I think that has been so helpful. Every time I think of a project, every time you think of creating a space for your employees, especially now that we have this opportunity after the pandemic to make a difference in the way in which women are treated in the workforce, this is the moment where small businesses have the power to create those spaces. So employees are like, hell yes, I want to be part of that team and that vision and that community. So I thank you for sharing that with us, because it's easy to remember. And then you really just embody that. Like, if you're feeling that, it's easier for your team and your community to feel that when they step into the space. So thank you for sharing that. I love that. Mm-hmm. And we're getting some love in the chat as well. If anybody has any questions, please let us know. I do have more questions for you, of course. I want to start talking a little bit about what is the role of self-care in your life as an entrepreneur, and especially as a mompreneur, because I think mompreneurs are superheroes. So I want to know more about what is the role of self-care in your life.
Yes. So there is so much buzz in that phrase, self-care. And my coach friend is like, I've changed it to care of self, because self-care has been glamorized as I take a bubble bath with candles, and like it's like a whole glamorized thing. And literally self-care could literally be like, I'm at the shop, I'm feeling overwhelmed, and I'm just gonna go for a walk right now and just take in the day. That is a moment of care of self. It could also be a no, because it's a no from you, but your people pleaser is like, I should say yes. If at any moment you're shitting yourself, you're not caring for yourself, right? So my self-care, or my care of self, is very vital and important. And one thing that I learned, because this was not always how I was able to operate, and I learned the very hard way on what it looks like to neglect yourself and your care of self. I mentioned earlier, and you want me to bring in the mompreneur piece. I mentioned earlier that when I started Pura Luna, when my wife and I started Pura Luna, we also had our baby. But here we are with a newborn and a newborn business. So I always like to joke that we literally birthed
Newborns.
that was basically what it was. So what ended up happening is, because I had this new business and I really wanted to build this community, but I also had this new baby and I really wanted to establish a new dynamic, there was a major period where there was a lot of grief happening. And I think a lot of moms don't talk about it, especially mompreneurs don't talk about it, because you go from being one, you walk in a certain way pre-baby, where you have freedom of choice to do and be and go and all these things, and you are a different person. And then this new spirit comes into your life, turning your life upside down in a beautiful way. Yet you also have to grieve the person that you were and what was. And I think that for me, even in my relationship with my wife, we had 16 years before Quest showed up. Of it being just the two of us traveling the world, doing whatever we want. And now date nights were never happening. And like, like it just became this challenge. So now we had to figure out our harmony. And one thing that like I really like to remind most of all people, but especially entrepreneurs and mompreneurs, is like, never strive for balance, because balance is a big old freaking myth, right? And I think we've been told that. For me, it's about harmony. Sometimes the scales are going to tip towards my daughter, and sometimes the scales are going to tip more towards my business. Scales are going to tip more towards my relationship. Sometimes the scales are going to tip towards me. And it's about understanding that rhythm that is required to make sure that you are able to find your harmony within all of that, instead of burning the candle at both ends, trying to juggle and balance everything when you are now depleting yourself. So what ended up happening with that is I burned the candle from both ends. I forgot about my care of self practice, because pre-baby, my care of self was on point. And it was especially because I had just finished my herbalism school. And so herbalism and the spiritual herbalism that I practice is all about taking a journey with the plants, as well as taking a journey with yourself, and really what it means to match your nature with nature. Nature is slow. Nature reaches for the sun. Nature knows the rhythm of the seasons, goes dormant in the winter. It begins to urge in the spring. Like, I was matching my nature with nature. So I felt really aligned and really good. Baby comes, community shows up, business shows up, and now I'm overextending everything for everybody else, and I'm forgetting me in the process. And what ended up happening is my body, and this is what happens to a lot of us, is your body will force you to shut down. Your body will create in you, whether it be a disease, a tumor, a sickness. Your body will literally be like, we're done. You did not listen. You tuned out from me and you forgot about me. And now I'm going to force you to sit down and focus on yourself. And you don't want to get to that point. And as an entrepreneur and a mompreneur, that was probably the biggest lesson for me. It was like, I did this to myself. I neglected every single tool and care of self thing that I had practiced, that I had pre business and baby, and dropped all of that. And now this is the repercussion. So last year I actually had a major surgery, and the year prior, so it was all 2020. It was like, I felt like the pandemic also was a moment of time for us to really pause and see where our harmony lied, and also where our mental health was, and to also see where our bodies and our hearts and our fears and like all of those things, where are we in the world now that everything's on pause, and how do we continue to trust the process as it comes in, and how do you trust this great unknown of like, are we ever going to get out of the house? Is it ever going to come back to normal? For me, what spiritually happened to me is that my body grew very large tumors in my womb space, right? So I didn't know, I'm a cancer survivor, so I had cancer. So I was fear-mongered by my doctor that this could be cancer. You have to have a hysterectomy right now, like blah, blah, blah. And I just sat with my body and I felt into it. And I was like, this isn't cancer. I know it's not cancer. These are fibroids. I know that this has a lot to do with the healing work that I have yet to do. I know this has a lot to do with my mommy issues. I know this has a lot to do with the things. And now my womb space is holding all of that pressure. It's holding all of that discomfort and all of the neglect, right? So I decided, okay, 2020, I'm going to be on my mission to heal myself, because I am a believer that we have the capacity to heal ourselves. So my care of self became completely pivoted on how can I help myself heal, but this was a forced, like, you have to do this. I am here to remind you all, give yourself permission to work on your healing every single freaking day. Every day, chip away at it, because you don't want to get to a point where you're forced to now focus on it. And it's a beautiful thing to be forced, but it also is a very challenging thing to be forced on your healing, because now it's like all or nothing. Am I really like crazy surgery, or am I going to refocus on and like just take the problem out, or am I going to really journey into why this is happening and what I did to create this issue that I'm currently facing? So I'm grateful for what I experienced. I'm grateful for my body doing what it did. And I did everything to try to navigate and heal myself. And I got really healthy in the process, but my fibroids did not go away. And it was preventing me from being able to have normal bodily function. And because I have one kidney due to cancer, I had a stent in my ureter. I couldn't pee without assistance. I mean, everything, my body was literally dysmorphed by what was happening. And it took a moment of just pure surrender to be like, I'm a believer that you need to release what no longer serves you. I'm a believer that it's time to let things go. And I'm also a believer in bridging. I feel like a lot of spiritually herbalist businesses are all or nothing. I want to be able to bridge the gap. I'm a product of being alive, a miracle, because of my chemotherapy and my Western medicine. So I am not going to ever shun any about their body that needs Western medicine, but I'm also going to be able to provide the tools to be preventative and to possibly support you in your choices and in your ability to heal now before it gets to that problem. So I had a hysterectomy last year, biggest decision of my life, and at 36, and that was a really big choice. And so my care of self is so on point now, because I have no room left in my body to not focus and tune into what I need, because my body depends on it. I need to make sure that I fill up my cup before I can pour into others, right? So this is a question for my group, or the people that are here. How are you filling up your cup every day, so that way you can pour into your business, you can pour into your community, because you cannot pour from an empty cup. And me pouring from an empty cup ended up creating one of the biggest sacrifices that I've known today, right? So which is a sacrifice of self. So that is why self-care is very important to me.
And I want to thank you for sharing, right, what you've been through and how important it has been for you to tune into your body. And that's one question that I wanted to ask you. How can we start doing that? Why is it important to tune into our bodies and not only our minds when it comes to taking care of ourselves? And what tips can you share with us so we can start doing more of that?
Absolutely. Your body is always talking. Your body is always talking to you. You're not listening. We don't listen. If you're feeling hungry, we'll just power through. That is your body asking for nourishment. Pause and give your body nourishment. You know when you're feeling dehydrated, pause and get yourself water. Tuning into your body can literally just be taking a moment to close your eyes, take a deep breath, and doing a body scan and feeling into what your body is asking of you right now. Are you tired? Do you need nourishment? Is that coffee? Do you need that extra cup of coffee? Because are your adrenals already zapped right now? Or can you make a new choice and have some herbal tea? It's like, instead of being in your autopilot, it's literally turning autopilot off and letting your body be the pilot, letting your body be your guide, and then actually implementing what you're hearing and what you're knowing and what you're sensing, and taking that intuitive notion to make those action steps to take care of what your body is asking you, right? We are so good at just persevering, especially us as women. We are asked, everybody is asking something of us. Everybody, every single day, especially my mompreneurs, we are constantly being bombarded with things that need to be done externally. Tuning into your body and really allowing your body to be your guide is going to be your best ally. You need your body in order to continue to go. You need to become friends with your body so that way you can answer those calls and be where you need to be, but also do it from a place of fulfillment as a place instead of a place of depletion.
Ash, and we got a question in the chat about your herbalism training. So Jen is asking, where did you take herbal training, and is there a separate spiritual herbal training you found?
Yes. So one thing, I have a lot, there's a lot packed into this little being of who I am. But the reason why I got into herbalism was because of my healing, right? I sought out the plants as part of my ability to heal myself. So I went to Costa Rica and I started learning all about Costa Rican plants, had a really great connection. And after several years of going to Costa Rica, one thing about spiritual herbalism is that you are able to tune into the spirit of a plant. So how do I explain that? Because some people are like, what do you mean by that? We've all had a house plant that either we've loved or we've killed. If we've all had them, we've all been there. If we loved it, we've nourished it with good water. We've probably talked to it. We play music. It feels our energy. It knows that it's being seen. It's being appreciated. It is a mirror of you, right? But we also have had those house plants or even garden plants that have died because we have neglected them. We have not seen them. We walk by them knowing that they're freaking sad, needing some water. This is also a reflection, right? That spirit of that plant, I look at the world as a mirror and as a teacher. And so when you really drop into the ability to connect with plants, especially herbal plants, they have a voice. These are the wisest things on our planet. Mm-hmm. Plants are the only reason why humans survived. Our ancestors had a connection to everything, the water, the earth, the elements. We've lost touch with that. So the minute you get back into tuning back into that aspect of it, the plants have a voice. They really do. And if you've ever been to one of my full moon gatherings, we do a whole plant meditation and people are like, I literally heard XYZ. And I was like, and this is what I needed to hear. So spiritual herbalism, heard in Costa Rica. Ash, we love you coming back here. This is so great. You love us. This is wonderful, but you know nothing about what grows around you. You live in Santa Barbara, which is an abundantly beautiful medicinal place that has native land that you live on, that has uses and all of these things, but you don't know anything about it. It's time for you to make a new choice. Noted. Let me do my research. Ended up finding a really beautiful school that was out in Topanga called the Gaia School of Healing and Earth Education. Mm-hmm. Changed my whole life because it literally brought me into the care of self, into the realm of the plants, into being able to match my nature with nature, into the rhythm of the seasons and the moon and everything. It brought it all into a spiritual place for me. And that's where I operate from. So if you come into my shop, we're going to ask for, like, you can come in with an ailment. I'm not able to sleep. And we're going to dive a little deeper. We're going to get into the spiritual aspect of why you're not sleeping. And then we're going to give you herbal allies that aren't just, but are going to support your adrenals and support whatever's heavy on your heart that keeps you up at night, or to calm an anxious mind and calm the mind chatter. These are the things that are very important. So that's with a spiritual herbalism. Some people are very clinical. Oh, you can't sleep? Work with valerian. You don't have a connection with valerian, and maybe you're just needing some extra support to support the spiritual aspect of what's going on. And once you do that, you'll sleep like a baby without needing a sedative. So this is how I got into spiritual herbalism, because it all makes sense. I don't want to just have the ailment and it's the same Western style. Oh, you have a headache, take Tylenol. But is your headache caused because you're dehydrated? Like, what is, like, can we get to the undersurface? Can we ask a little bit more questions about what's happening before we just give a pill to it? I'm in that same frame of mind where I want to hear more spiritually what's happening before I suggest anything.
Thank you, Ash. And we have another question, and we're going to start wrapping the session, which is sad, but here is another question. Do you find that as you continue to grow personally, spiritually, and professionally, that your goals change in your business? And if so, how are you currently balancing stepping into new territory and closing out new ideas?
Absolutely. I'm glad that question came up because this is the first year that my wife and I, we sat with this for months. Do we continue to do wedding hair and makeup? Are we still Luna Bella makeup? Are we done with that version of ourselves? We started this in our 20s. We're now approaching 40. Are we done with having our weekends taken up every weekend and not having time with our daughter, not being able to plan a life out because of somebody's special day? We're done. We have pulled out of the wedding industry. I have a huge wedding tomorrow, and then I have one last one in July, and we're done. But I had to also let go of this identity of I'm a makeup artist and that this is part of what I do. That chapter has now closed. And that when one door closes, you open up so much more space to allow more to come into your life. So I'm really excited to let that part of myself go and to be a retired makeup artist and to allow myself time and space to now dream bigger and put my energy, pour that energy into something better still. And yes, it is constantly pivoting. There's always going to be things that are going to change our mind and be in the ebb and flow, but that's again the harmony of it. It's like constantly getting out. And that's the thing, our brains will constantly trick us into thinking something else. But when we really sit with ourselves and we tune into what our hearts want to do, that is usually an unwavering vision. Our minds will constantly take us into, well, what if? And the projections of the future. And instead, is it still resonate on a heart and soul level what you're doing? Is your business still bringing you joy? Is that initial gusto that you went with when you first started this business still getting you up in the morning and getting you excited and ready to get out there? Weddings, we're no longer doing that. So it's time to close that chapter. It's time to be okay with that. Yes, it's an extra stream of income, but we're going to be okay because we're going to call in new streams of income. So yes, there's definitely, as you are in your business, you are going to have ebbs and flows of how you see and you visualize it, but always come back to the heart of the matter of why you began this. And if it's not resonating anymore, maybe it's time to make a new choice.
Mm. And we're getting more questions in the chat, but I want to be conscious of your time as well, Ash. So how can we stay connected with you, with Pura Luna, and how can we learn about the events that you mentioned about meditating and going into the store and all these special events that you're going to be having in the next couple of months? How can we stay informed, and how can someone is interested in submitting products to your store? So how can we stay connected with you?
Yes. Well, we have a nice little platform on social media. So we're always putting our events and, tools and tips and fun things. We try to keep, the world is heavy. We try to keep things light. One thing that's really big for me is, embracing the shadow, but always being the lighthouse. Right. And what does that mean? The lighthouse is always going to shine no matter how dark it is in the night. Right. No matter how dark the world may get, I want to always be a light for my community. I want to always be a light for my family. And so it's a constant choice to constantly be the light, right? I'm not going to go any further with that because you asked me about how to stay in touch with me. You can stay in touch with me through social media. You can also, my email is puralunaapothecary@gmail. So if there's submissions or questions, you're more than welcome to email me. I am a slow emailer, so patience with that. I forgive myself for not being on top of those things. Irene, you learned that with me this week.
Nika, you do so much. Don't you worry. Don't you apologize. No, we understand.
Yeah, come into the shop. I'm usually there always on Tuesdays. Tuesdays are my day there. So if you're trying to catch me, Tuesday's my day. Otherwise, I'm delegating it to my incredible staff, which are happy to take care of you. Mm-hmm. And as far as events, again, I have a newsletter. Please sign up for our newsletter. Retreat coming in July. So if you are feeling depleted and want up, please consider coming. I'm taking people, my community, back to Costa Rica and literally creating a very experiential 7-day, like everything. So there's a whole website for that, puralunawholeness.com. This summer, we're going to be doing a whole summer around what it means to be in your pleasure body. And that doesn't necessarily have to be just sexually, but sex is a part of it. But it's like, how do we call in more pleasure in our lives, especially as women, right? And how do we make that our medicine? Because pleasure is medicine. And we have a whole portion of our shop dedicated to pleasure medicine because it's real. So these are the ways you can keep in contact with me. I would love to talk to all of you and be in your community, and also a part of the community that supports you as you continue to grow and expand in your businesses and in your entrepreneurship. But no, it's a spiritual journey. So really tune into what your spirit's asking for and allow us to provide tools.
Thank you so much. And also shout out to Christine for all the wonderful work that you both do in the community. I just want to say that you two are like amazing lighthouses in our community. So we're very grateful. And do you have any last words for our entrepreneurs in the room, especially people that are starting? Any last thoughts that you want to share with them?
So all my new entrepreneurs that are starting out, or even if you've been in this business for years, never forget to be proud of yourself and celebrate the small wins, right? I always bring my little Ashe into the picture because I know she'd be so proud of what we've done and where we've come from and how much we've accomplished. And so don't take for granted the small wins. And when challenging, small wins are going to be the things that help you persevere. Don't neglect yourself in the process of building something. The foundation is you. So if you let it's going to crumble. So make sure that your foundational root system is strong and steadfast, and continue to work your way up. And again, have fun. Don't take it so seriously. Continue to have fun in your business. It is very important and very vital, and to laugh a lot.
Yes, I love that. And we're about to head into our breakout rooms, but I just want to take a moment to thank you again for taking this time. I know that you're on the road, so we're so grateful that you were able to be here with us. And just thank you. Sending much love your way. Hope you have a wonderful weekend. And for those staying here, we have homework from Ashe for the breakout rooms. So don't go anywhere because we have homework, ladies. So I'm going to stop recording